Esther, with Harry's imminent visit to the UK, speculation continues about his relationship with his family, who he will see, who he won't see while he's there. Where does all that stand at the moment?
So we know that Prince Harry is due to meet up with King Charles. Their relationship has somewhat thawed, particularly after the revelation that his father, the king, has cancer. There are reports that the Prince Harry has no plans of seeing Prince William, and I think that the feeling is mutual. I suspect actually Prince Harry might have extended an olive branch, but Prince William and his family are just not interested at all. Clearly, the trust has been broken. There are many questions as to why Meghan and the children are not joining him, because we know that he wanted to bring them over. Now, there are a few reasons this could potentially be for a few reasons. One, because he's planning on appealing his case against the Home Office to the Court of Appeal. It could be a legal tactic to say, look, for the 10th anniversary of the Invictus Games, this organization I've been involved in since its conception, I couldn't even bring my family over. So it could be a tactic to kind of pull at the heartstrings of the court. That's one thing. Another thing could be because obviously it's Archie's birthday. Meghan wanted to stay over with the kids as she did for the king's coronation. Another reason could be Meghan just doesn't feel comfortable coming to the UK. There have been reports that she doesn't want to be part of kind of the whole media or tabloid frenzy. I don't suspect that's really the case, because she's part of that frenzy anyway. I mean, if she's not getting it from British media, she's certainly getting it from American media. She was featured in an episode of South Park for the love of God. And then the last question is obviously the safety, or the last option is probably the safety reason, where Harry doesn't feel safe. And he said this many times, bringing his family over. I do find it curious that he feels safer in the US, a country where you can freely carry guns to even places like Walmart. But somehow the UK, that has a much better and safer track record, he doesn't feel safe. Meghan and Harry are also planning a trip to Nigeria as part of the Invictus Games. They're invited by the Nigerian military. And again, it's raised questions as to why the couple feels safe in a country like Nigeria, even surrounded by sort of all the military entourage and all of that, but not in the UK. So there are very many questions around the nature of this visit. Why it's only Harry? What is his motivations behind it just being him, and him not visiting with his family? Why he's only seeing his father, the king, and not his sister-in-law, who's also undergoing cancer treatment. But there might be a few surprises. Meghan could potentially come to the UK and then join Harry on their trip to Nigeria. It's a very common flight stopover. You usually don't fly directly from Los Angeles all the way to Lagos. You usually have to do a stopover somewhere in Europe, and that tends to be the UK, because it tends to have the most flights to Nigeria. So there are many questions around the logistics of this and the reasons behind it. But I personally suspect that one, Harry knows that he's not welcome in the Wales's home for obvious reasons. Kate doesn't need that kind of stress when she's undergoing cancer treatment. And I also think that Meghan actually is probably using Archie's birthday as a decent excuse to just stay away. I don't know if it's necessarily she fears for her safety, but I just don't think she's very comfortable coming to the UK, and I don't think the British public are particularly fussed about that either.
And we understand that Harry is meant to be staying in a hotel, not staying with family. Whispers are that the family are too busy to see him. Ordinarily, you'd think that was a cop-out, right? But at the moment, they are carrying quite the workload. Is that a reasonable excuse?
Yes, of course. I mean, the king just returned to royal duties this week. He's clearly been very enthusiastic. His first activity coming back into his public duty has been going to visit Cancer Research UK and the London headquarters. So he clearly has a lot on his plate, and so has the Queen, who's really absorbed a lot of the king's duties since he's been missing in action. The same with Prince William, taking care of his wife, as well as resuming some public duties as well. So clearly the core of the family are stretched, and so there's a viable excuse there. I think the bigger reason, of course, is the fact that the trust has been broken. They don't know if Harry's going to come with Netflix cameras or some sort of hidden wires. Harry has been quite strategic in announcing his visit to the UK. I think that's something as well to buttress his case for heightened security. But again, I personally suspect that his case with the Court of Appeal will be unsuccessful. I don't think just making the argument to the court that, oh, look, poor me, I couldn't bring my family over, is enough to basically overturn the national security arrangements of an entire country. You have high-profile celebrities like the Beckhams and other members of the public that are very, very well known, that have their own private security alongside elements of police security police protection when it is required. You don't just get an automatic right to that. Not even people like Salman Rushdie, who had a fatwa against him, were given that privilege easily. So, I personally think that he's been quite clever in announcing his visit to try and say, look, this is my security threat. And also because the family aren't planning to really see him other than King Charles, and I suspect it'll be a short visit. He can't really be brought into the royal fold of security. It's not like he's coming for Garter Day or any other kind of royal escort or anything that would require him to be amongst the protection umbrella of the royal family.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned a little earlier, after this UK trip, Meghan and Harry are going to Nigeria on tour. What is that all about?
So they've been invited by the Nigerian military as part of an Invictus Games. Nigeria has the largest military on the African continent. About 30% of non-active personnel are women. They did send some athletes to the Invictus Games last time it was held. So they do have some sort of relationship with the Invictus Games, which is obviously Prince Harry's beloved project. There are rumors that the couple will engage in some sort of cultural activities, which is to be expected. You don't fly all the way to Nigeria just for this one thing. I'm sure they want to get stuck in. There's a bit of concern though that will they overstep the mark and kind of act like faux royals and undertake this kind of faux dignitary role or like ambassadorial role that's usually reserved for the royal family, understandably so, and King Charles as the head of state. We don't know. This couple they're quite interesting because they tend to not necessarily engage with the royal family, so understand that the nuances of how to really deal with foreign dignitaries and how their behavior would impact the United Kingdom. The royal family are not just the royal family; they're also the head of an institution that represents many countries as well, and their actions unfortunately does have an impact there. But because it looks like they're going uniquely in the capacity of the Invictus Games, there shouldn't be too much controversy there. It looks like they're trying to successfully rebrand themselves as some sort of influencer couple, which is probably the only option that they have left. Like I said, they're not, chemists or surgeons or people with any kind of professional background. Harry was a prince his whole life, and Meghan was sort of reasonably successful actress and in her own right, but it's not a set of expertise or skills that you can bring. She's not an opera singer or a ballet dancer, for instance. So really their only option are to be influencers, and I think that's probably what they're going to focus on, whether it's as dignified as being working royals or not. But with the visit to Nigeria, there were concerns, like I said, about kind of ruffling a few feathers, but I think because of the capacity they're going into, it's probably reasonably safe.